Welcome to the Creative AI Show. What do we have this week, Brian?
Hey Rosh, happy to be here. We're two creative guys talking AI, and this week I know we did a lot about text to image, but I wanted to take those really good images and animate them. And what I've realized at the end of the day is Kling is the king right now. And I haven't talked about it on the show yet, and I love it so much. So I'm going to talk a bit about Kling and all of its features,
Yeah,
and
there's a
and
nice
then a
update
little.
too.
Yes, yeah, a lot of really good updates, a lot of good things for its usability. It's been a blast, really, and really impressive. And then I want to talk about Sam Altman's comments. Our CPUs are melting. Stop making these awesome images. Everybody, slow down. I think he's doing a little reverse psychology on us here. I think
Uh-huh.
they're doing just fine, but he wants to brag about how many people are using ChatGPT image generator, and they
Yeah.
certainly are. I know that ties into what you want to talk about today. What you
Yeah.
got going on?
Yeah, because last week was the week of image generator, text to
Right.
image generator specifically,
Yes.
where you have Google, you have
Hmm.
ChatGPT 4o, and of course Rev, our new favorite. So we'll
Oh
get
boy,
into that
yeah, yeah.
conversation. The second part has to do with what's referred to as vibe coding, and it really fits directly into the creative AI director that we've been talking about. And good news, that webinar is out. So we'll talk a little more about that.
Ooh, yes, yeah, that's very exciting. Yeah, so the webinar, yeah, we'll leave that to the end, but we've got some really good information that you put together. So, all right, so talking about these wonderful images that we've been creating, I said, all right, let me get back in the lab on some of my creative pursuits. And in the past, I've really only used Pika, and I've used a little bit of Sora. I've used my video editing program Wondershare, and I've gotten some pretty good results with these image to videos. And what I realized is I finally got pushed into the world of Kling, and it wins nearly every time. And I know I've watched some of your videos too where you compare it, and it's just consistently so good at its prompt adherence, at its realistic, just the nature of the movements, and it doesn't have nearly as many hallucinations or blurry spots or mess ups
Yeah.
like that, and it's just consistently good. So I did a video a few days ago. Thank you again for publishing that. Where
Mhm.
I realized one of the things that these AIs are doing really well is taking a zoomed in image of a face. So I did four different faces through Rev, and they were hyper realistic, super, really, really good. It almost looked like stock photography. And I had Kling do a happy emotion and a sad emotion and see how it handled that full range. And I gave it a decent sized prompt. I used ChatGPT to help me with all my prompting. And tell it what platform you're using. And what ChatGPT is able to do is really generate a prompt that works well for that platform with all the
Yeah.
descriptors
Good
that you
point.
could use. Yeah, and it knows that Kling can take a lot, and it gave a pretty hefty prompt, and Kling did a really good job of generating. I mean, it won 8 out of 8 times in my comparison, where it was realistic smiles to where it's like, wow, I want to be friends with this person, and it's weird because they don't exist. But you watch it. I mean, I've been watching a lot of your videos in this. Where are you feeling like there's some of the differences with Kling? What are you seeing?
So Kling is definitely a top. As far as features go, I would say
Hmm.
Kling wins in terms of a consistently good AI video generator. Now, the one that only one continuously beats Kling out, and
Ooh,
that's Vidu. That's Studio. And when I've done my comparisons, at the very end, those are the two standing,
yeah.
and Vidu often wins. Or
Okay.
or it's a combination of one, the other one. There was one just did a
Right.
little one thing better, a little by a little, and then the other one did a little bit. So Kling is always a good choice. But Vidu is something to consider, although it probably doesn't have as many features as say Kling does.
You know what I think we need to do is one of our side videos that we put up outside of the podcast is we need to join forces and have a competition against each other where we
Sure.
we pit our favorite Vidu versus our favorite Kling and see who wins. Oh,
Yeah,
put
I
our
like
money
it.
where our mouth
I
is.
like
Yeah,
it.
I
That
like
nice,
that.
nice
So
combination video. Yeah, that sounds great. That's a great
yeah.
idea.
Yeah. So what's cool about Kling? They give you a little bit for free. So they give you what, like 66 credits, and for one of their full high quality generations, it's about 35 credits.
Yeah.
So I think 66 was 65 or whatever was just under to be able to do two of those. So they give you
Okay.
one of those a day. But then honestly, it's only $7 a month to get 660 credits, and
Right.
that's what I signed up for. And honestly, I've used them all. I'm going to be waiting a few days for it to resume, to
Yeah.
refresh. But only at $26 is the next step up at 3,000 credits.
Right, and
So
that happens to be the one I have, and
okay,
I
good.
did it so I could use the character generator,
Mm.
meaning I don't think you really need the $26 one. You can buy more credits, can you not? I believe no,
I
you can't. That's
I've
with the
got to look.
different one.
No, it wants to
Yeah,
push you to that next
but I
sublevel.
went to the $26 one so I could use the character, so you can create your own character. Like we could create you or me, and you actually have to put up videos of the person, and it'll create that foundation that you can
I've
use.
been
Kind of
told I'm
like,
a character.
yeah, there you go. So there's some nice the model development features. Those are all really nice elements that that other platforms just don't have in the same way.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's fine. I was going to talk, some of the other elements that they've brought in or some of the tricks that Pika has where, you can build these scenes where you're adding in different
Yeah.
elements and stuff like that. And I know I get that at my pay level. So that's pretty fun. And it's fun to compare its performance against Pika on
Hmm.
those where you're adding in extra scenes and stuff like that. So, but yeah,
You only have what, four of them right now?
yes, yeah, they're very limited where Pikas gives you 15, 20 different options of things to do.
Yeah.
So, but oh, I'm talking about the quantity of elements you could put in. Yeah, up to
Yeah.
4 elements at a
Yeah.
time. Yeah, but otherwise, some of the other kind of tricks and stuff that, Pika kind of led the way with, Kling is showing up with, the things where you can squish or pull things apart and stuff like
No,
that.
actually,
So,
that's what I meant. Yeah, those four. I think there are only
okay,
four versions. At least last I saw.
correct then.
Maybe there
Yeah.
are more.
Yeah, I mean, every time I feel like I log into these programs, there's, hey, new update. And
Yeah,
it's great because it gives us more fodder to do our videos about.
exactly
So that's
right.
perfect.
Exactly right.
So, all right. Well, yeah, I want to throw it back your way
So
for,
yeah, I think we both can agree on this week. It was really quite the week. Gemini with the ability to do the, text editing that's
mm-hmm.
been coming out over the last couple of weeks, and Rev AI, and then ChatGPT coming out. That
Coming
was
out
huge.
swinging.
Yeah. Now the
Yeah.
only downside to that one is so slow.
Very. It reminds me of the internet with a 14.4 modem,
Yes,
where
exactly.
like, I couldn't
It
wait to
just
say that on the show today because I'm seeing the bar. All right, here we go.
Yeah,
All
just come on, come on. I mean, when I do comparisons, the other ones are
Yeah.
like done, an hour ago,
Yep.
but it's very good at consistent characters.
Right.
You create your character and say, okay, now add, some flowers in the person's hand, and there you go.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same character, same thing.
Right.
It's
Which
right
before
up.
it was kind of a crapshoot. You didn't know what you were going to get when you got to put in a new prompt just to
Exactly.
say, hey, this one previous one's perfect. Just add some
Yeah.
clouds in the sky. Nope,
Yeah.
brand new image.
Yeah, exactly right. And I had one where it was literally just the laser. There's a laser in the photo, and
Ooh.
it was red. And I asked it to turn it green,
Okay.
and it did, just perfect. Nothing else in the
Nice.
entire image changed.
Yeah.
So that was great. So those kinds of things, and more of that is coming our way. The
Yeah.
ability to just make those subtle changes very easily. And honestly, we forget that they've had an editing tool in there for quite a while where
Hmm.
you could just go over with a brush and then say change this out. It was okay. It was good. I mean, it was nice advance at the time. But ultimately, with all Gemini, the imagery is okay. It's not up to the level of the Chat GPT, and it's
Right.
certainly not up to the level of Rev. And Rev AI, I mean, that one, I think we both agree it's fast and
Yep.
it's good
It's
and it
free.
does what you want it to do. You can put a big old list in there and it will go
Hmm.
through all of it and it will not forget stuff, which is
Yeah.
what a lot of these platforms do. You don't get three out of four of the elements, but you put five, six elements, it's there. And
Right.
that's the amazing thing. And the speed and the quality, love it. I
Yeah.
use it. I use it as part of my regular workflow right now.
Agreed. Yeah, its prompt adherence is insane. Yeah, I did a comparison of, and Leonardo, very good, one of the
Yep.
premier ones. I actually, pay for the subscription on it, and like you said, it would be 2 or 3 out of the 5 prompts it would really nail, and then there would be, maybe minimal efforts or just ignore the other prompts altogether.
Yeah.
And
But the
and
nice thing with
every single
Leonardo
time,
is you go through that flow state. You just
right,
keep
you get
getting
there
more and more and
eventually.
more. It's not just here's your four. You waited,
Yeah,
even it seems like 30 seconds is an hour, and I mean, whatever it may be, whatever platform you're waiting
we're
for
so
your
demanding.
and
I
now,
love it.
but with Leonardo, it's just instant, and it just starts going down the page
Yeah.
of all, and then you pick the one you want and you build off of that. So that, as far again as process goes, Leonardo is still solid,
Hmm.
but yeah, Rev
Worth
is.
it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, well, speaking of, Chat GPT, and a lot of things I saw with their new image generator was I'm starting to see in a lot of my Facebook groups that are all about AI prompting. I'm starting to see AI image trends that are
Hmm.
happening. And I tell you, I saw 30 plus action figure people where they would upload their image and put it
Yeah.
onto an action figure.
Yeah, right.
So I made one for our good friend and it
Yes.
passed the S test.
Yes.
He loved it.
I bet he did.
He absolutely loved it. So he had me actually do a couple tweaks and updated it, and it updated it perfectly, kept the
Nice.
character consistent, and who knows what he did with it, but I sent it his way. So I made his weekend, but it passed the S test for sure. But
Good.
this leads perfectly into my next point of Sam Altman. He's kind of a funny character on. It's funny he's using X of all things to get his messaging out.
Yeah,
That's
right.
kind of, but he tweeted, I guess that's still a thing. I'll hold on to that. He put out a message that, hey, calm down, everybody, with this image generation. We know our new tool is awesome, but our GPUs, our CPUs, everything is melting. And he might be half serious. He might not. I think this might be their excuses to kind of step in some more tiers of pay and throttle things back and stuff
Yeah,
like that. But it leads to a bigger conversation that this truly is an AI arms race that's happening right now, and
absolutely.
and each subsequent update they're just pushing them out and they
Yeah.
don't know necessarily if their infrastructure is going to maintain,
Yeah, right.
and they're just pushing it out and letting us do what we have to do. And I think the response of how well ChatGPT generated images was so overwhelming that they got a bit back more than they bargained for, and then they kind of throttled back some things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but it just shows that all of these AIs, they're just trying to get stuff out there, and figure out the problems as they happen, and it's kind of fun. It's like the
Yeah.
wild, wild west of this
I mean,
right
I
now.
remember way back in the day when it was always you always look at the magazines, yeah, dating myself, and you'd see the next, computer that had a little
Mhm.
bit more RAM, a little bit more speed. It's like, oh, but the next one's gonna be even more than that, and you're just waiting and okay, I'll get that one. And the thing is, we're going to get to a plateau
Right.
where the incrementation of improvements is much slower. But this is the exciting time. This
Yes,
is the
exactly.
time where we'll look back, say, remember what every 2 days there was something new and it was big, it was huge, where
Right.
we're going to get to a point where it's okay, little improvements in it. And honestly, at that point, it'll be totally about what are the best ways to use these tools because they're all
Yeah.
going to be able to do, for the most part, similar things.
Correct. Yeah. So, well, it's fascinating to see, and they're just struggling to support it, and just hopefully that they're able to, the companies that are going to succeed in this are the ones that are going to be able to scale intelligently and adapt their
Yeah.
infrastructure to make it work.
Right.
And yeah,
Yeah.
so it's
Infrastructure is so
just
important. Yeah.
right. Yeah. So, all right, I'll throw it back to you for your final point today, sir.
So we have our webinar that has been released, and we're talking about the creative AI. The creative director, creative AI director to be exact. And that is a thing. That is a
Hmm.
career move. Being able to direct the AIs well, learning how to do it. And there is something that has come out of this type of work, and it's been given a name, and it's called vibe coding. And
Ooh.
basically, what that means is that you say to the I would like this type of application. And you give it a little bit of information, just kind of like we do with a photo or a
Hmm.
video, except it's an actual application that needs to be coded. And it could be a web page, it could be an actual app of sorts, or a function, a tool, or something like that. And then the AI will give you the first round. And then you'll test it and you say, no, I need this and this and this. And then you'll go back and you say, okay, make an adjustment here, make an adjustment there. And even people who understand coding and can code on their own are doing this more and more. And this is the new direction. And I've been doing this for a good couple of years. We didn't call it maybe, well, more than that, 3, 4 years. And we never called it vibe coding, but this is the process.
Right.
You put in the initial prompts and you start tweaking and adjusting and collaborating with the AI. So that's really what that is. It's just how to collaborate and collaborate well. And believe me, it takes time. I mean, if someone thinks, at least right now with the AIs, that you're just going to say, okay, go build me Photoshop,
Yeah.
it's just not going to happen. You need elements in different parts. You're going to build this part of Photoshop, and then you're going to build this. You're going to build something that can crop an image, and then you're going to build something that can crop an image, and then, I don't know, lighten and darken it. You're going to add and you're going to develop, and over time, but that would take a lot of time to do that. So, have you
Right.
done anything like that, Brian? Have you any kind of a vibe code or any
It's
type of
funny.
application like that?
It's funny you ask because I just recently got an idea given to me during a one-to-one about BNI. That's how we've
Hmm.
connected before, is from our business networking group. And I started to get that conversation going with ChatGPT yesterday about a potential app that I think would
Yeah,
really, really benefit the overall organization.
right.
And actually, I want to, chat with you more about that, offline. And because I know you're more versed in this world, and I think it's something we could truly collaborate on and create something great. Just it was fun just having that conversation, being like, hey, this is what I want to accomplish.
Right.
How do you think I should go about this? Suggest maybe some programs. Can you help me write the code? So I started with ChatGPT, but I also popped over to Claude too to have a little
Hmm.
conversation there on that side of it, because I know you've suggested
Claude's
over and
doing
over
great.
again
Yeah.
that's one of the best one for coding for sure, and
Yeah.
just for creative endeavors.
Yes.
But again, I'm in more in the social media world, so I'm using the programs. I'm not building them.
Right.
I think I took a C++ class back in like 2002.
Okay.
So that's where my coding ended. But past that, but I feel like I could be dangerous now because, I can download the programs. I know how to use programs. I know how to communicate with AIs.
Yeah.
And I think I could develop something that actually truly might be beneficial that maybe we could test out in our respective groups.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just a matter of just starting. I mean, just
Hmm.
ask the AI to create the initial code, have a place to put the code so you can test it
Yeah.
yourself. If it's online, you can just, have it create an HTML page or, use Python to create functions or some sort. There's all sorts of things you can do that will and if you don't know where to start, just ask. And I guess
Right.
that's where we've
Exactly.
often said, a lot of people don't know where to start. But once you start to go through the process, you'll know what the next question to ask is. Once you have a
Hmm.
little success, then you'll push it a little bit further. And again, that's where the vibe coding comes from. It's just the ability to work and collaborate with the AIs, and that's going to be part of being a creative AI director. And
Yeah.
that's why we have the webinar. The webinar has been released, and the term vibe coding is not in it, but it will be when we start to release our next classes. And so this is the initial. It's free. You can go there, you can
Ooh.
sign up, and we'll let you know via the email when the
Mhm.
next class is. We're developing that.
So
We're developing a small class first.
where are they going, Rosh?
Creativeaishow.com. Thank you, Brian.
.com. Perfect. Ah,
Dot
no
com.
problem. Sometimes.
Creativeaishow.com. Thank you, Brian. And
No
and
problem.
then from there, we'll have some larger classes that both
Yeah.
Brian and I are involved with. So yeah. So good.
Yeah, I'm excited to go down specific rabbit holes and be able to, talk for a while about, different directions. So,
Yeah, much
but
deeper dive.
yeah, yeah. But, and also just to talk back to your point that you were making before there about, the back and forth, what I've noticed a lot more with ChatGPT and specifically ChatGPT Deep Research is you have your initial prompt and it'll often ask you those follow-up
Yes.
questions. So
Yes, it will.
instead of knowing what the next question to ask it is, it's prompting you to give more information. And specifically with Deep Research,
Hmm.
I've had anywhere from 4 to 8 follow-up questions
Oh,
where I
really?
literally
That
have to
many?
go one, this, two, this, and this. And
Hmm.
then it computes, it takes all those, factors into its computations, and it takes 8 to 10 minutes sometimes, and it's going
Yeah.
through 30 to 40 sources and giving me a really good just overall scheme to use for
Yeah.
onboarding a new client or just anything that I'm trying to get done.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. And more will be here next week. Every week
Right,
something new,
exactly.
very exciting. So with that, let's wrap it up and
Yeah,
let everybody know that we are two creative guys talking AI. Talk to you
we'll
next
talk to you
week.
next week.